Hi there, folks. It's Elaine Fraze, Farm Family Coach. I just want to show you our t-shirts for our company that say, find harmony through understanding. And that's actually the underlying theme of today's blog, how to talk about fair family price versus fair market value. And many of you who also get Country Guide magazine perhaps remember the November 2023 issue called This New Land, and I highly recommend that you go to Google, type in countryguide.ca and search for This New Land and use this resource as a backup to today's video, because fair family price is something different. And what you want to do, according to our teammate and CPA Glenn Dogterom, is you want to start determining the fair market value by using a certified appraiser. And one of the women in our membership site did this for her farm, which is on Vancouver Island, which is very special. And she actually got 2 appraisals so that she had really good data to share with her successor. The second thing you want to do is think about what is the farming operation and what is its size. Is it highly profitable? And is there money and wiggle room for offering some cash flow and working capital to the next generation by having fair family price? Or is there a viability question? And a lot of people don't understand how their cash flow is not really what they think it is, and they also need to think about what they as founders have for income streams as they age in place on the farm. The other question is, what is the nature of the assets being purchased? Is it actual farmland, equipment, and buildings or infrastructure? Or is it shares in a farming company? And that's where the current asset list is really helpful, and you should be able to get that from your accountant. And when I was in farm debt mediation as a farm debt mediator, very often it wasn't clear what assets were available to service the debt. And so do the buildings and need a lot of upgrading? What kind of shape's the equipment in? How many how many family business shares from the corp or for the company are available for purchase? And it doesn't mean it has to be all purchased at one time. Maybe there's a range over time that those shares could be purchased. And are the founders going to have preferred shares and the successors going to have the growth shares? These are all really good questions to chomp out first as a family before you go and talk to your team of advisors, so that you're very clear and have some basis of understanding what people's intent is before you go to your accountant or to your lawyer. I also have got on this blog that the successor needs to prepare a business plan that can be presented to the financing company as part of their application in determining how much the financial lender is willing to provide towards the purchase. And Glenn mentions too that sometimes there is going to be a collateral requirement, could be in the range of 20 to 25% of the fair market value. So this may dictate just how practical it is to expect a family discount. And as a young farmer, what kind of collateral are you willing to bring to the table? So often discounts have a very wide range based on the family dynamics. And Glenn says it's not uncommon for the discount to be in the range of 15%, which could lead to a shortfall of 5 to 10% of the down payment that's required. And so there may be ways to cover this off with a promissory note or something from the founders. So obviously land is expensive. Young farmers are really frustrated. And this also begs the question of, what are you doing as the founders or the older parents to strengthen your personal wealth bubble so you don't have as much pressure on your income stream to draw income from the farm as you transition and age in place on the farm? And the other question is, what if the founder sells and gives access to assets, and then the successor 5 years down the road turns around and flips the farm? And this strikes terror into the heart of the non-farm siblings and a lot of anger and angst. And I specifically remember a young woman walking into the bathroom at a conference I was at, and she said, "Elaine, my brother got the dairy farm. He only held on to it for 10 years, and now he's flipped it for 10 million. And he has no intention of sharing it with us." And those are the kinds of stories that really make people agitated and anxious about not doing things at fair market value. But there is a thing called the poison pill, which is the legal term that lawyer Mona Brown uses here in Manitoba, caveats and things that can be put into agreements that are prorated so that you can't cash out the farm and walk off with a huge amount of equity without taking into consideration how long you've had access and ownership of that particular asset. And here's Glenn's sage wisdom, which I agree to. Remember that it likely took the parents 40 years or more to achieve what they have built up, and it's not unreasonable for the successor to also look at a long-term 20, 30-year agreement for the purchase. So what we're saying, in other words, is keep your expectations realistic. And I, as a coach, would also encourage you to keep the entire family in the loop and have a sit down someday and explain your why you wanted to transfer assets for a fair family price versus a fair market value. And that's where the green monster of greed and entitlement may raise its head, or maybe your other non-farm heirs feel that you as founders are not being treated fairly. So if you'd like to have more accountability on this and more opportunity to discuss what this looks like, please go to elainefraze.com/membership and sign up for our membership today so we can be coaching you 3 times a month for the next 12 months or longer, or however long you want to stay in our membership site. But these are the kinds of things that farm families are dealing with, and there's no one correct answer, but what it requires is a sharing of what everybody wants, what's your intent, what's your attitude towards keeping the farm intact, and what kind of leg up the next generation needs to be able to afford to buy assets, and what you need as founders to have the income stream that you've worked over 40 years to have in building up your farm business. So there's lots of layers, but you can do this, and let us help you facilitate this conversation on fair family price. See you next time.